8 o'clock, let's get your news to you now on Morning Live. Great to be with you. The South Gauteng High Court is expected to deliver judgment today on former apartheid police officer Joao Rodrigues' application for a permanent stay of prosecution. Rodrigues is accused of the murder of anti-Apartheid activist Ahmed Timol in 1971. Rodrigues, 80 years old, has argued that the prosecution will violate his right to dignity as he would be tried at his old age for a crime allegedly committed 48 years ago. Rodrigues faces a murder charge after an inquest found Timol was thrown to his death from the 10th floor of Johannesburg Central Police Station. Let's get the latest on that story now. We've got Maheketla Mohlabe. He's at the South Gauteng High Court following that story. Maheketla, good morning to you. What is expected today?
A very good morning to you, Leanne. Of course, as you mentioned in that intro, we are expecting that particular judgment by the full bench of judges here at the South Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg. We are expected, of course, to hear if then Joao Rodrigues will have his application for permanent stay of prosecution dismissed or even approved. But what we know, Leanne, is that, in the past 2 months, during the arguments or in this particular application, we've had a lot of lawyers representing various organizations. And I just want to quote what one of the advocates said. That was Salim Nadkajavan, lawyer for SA Litigation Center, saying that Mr. Timol was not killed in an act of private violence. He was killed in the public interest of the apartheid state. And this is what one of the arguments that kept coming through during the pre-trial or coming into today. And one of the lawyers, of course, from the lawyer for TRC commissioners, also mentioning that the consequence of a grant of stay of prosecution, particularly in this case, would effectively be a stay not just for him, but for all of those security branch officers who are similarly implicated in the human rights violation or crime against humanity. And of course, we already know that this is one case that will set a precedent in this historical case here. We know that if then Rodrigues gets this particular application approved, it will then mean that the other cases that many other families are looking to actually bring forward to the NPA will then be particularly compromised. Whereas on the other side, if then Rodrigues again gets this approved, it means that those that are still implicated in these particular cases will then go or walk free. But to join me actually to tell me more about this, I'm going to be joined rather by Imtiaz Kaji. He's Timol's nephew. He's been actually chasing this case since 2003. Mr. Kaji, since 2003, as I just mentioned, you've been chasing this particular case. We are expecting that judgment today. What is the family saying?
Look, we're very cautiously optimistic that the full bench will not approve the permanent stay of application brought by Joao Rodrigues, because his version of events of 1972 and 2017 are simply not plausible. And the implications of Rodrigues getting a permanent stay of prosecution will simply mean that the more than 300 TRC cases that are currently sitting with the NPA will simply be shut down.
But then we also hear that clearly, if then Rodrigues gets this in his favor, it will mean then that the dignity and the respect of those that passed on years back will then be compromised.
It will be an insult to the memories of our fallen heroes and heroines and our martyrs who've all sacrificed their lives in order for us to live in a democratic South Africa. So this judgment today is no longer just about Ahmed Timol, but it deals with the likes of Matthews Mabelani, Imam Harun, Soliman Modipani, Maheketla Mohlabe, Steve Biko, and all the others who sacrificed their lives in order for us to live in a democratic South Africa.
But then, do you think it should have really gone this far? More especially because you have been pushing for him to go for trial. Did it have to come this far?
It's absolutely painful, Maheketla, that that the state has dismally failed in reinvestigating TRC cases. And that is why the submission made by Lucanio Calata to the Zondo Commission is very critical. We should not forget that the TRC commissioners had written to President Ramaphosa on the 6th of February this year, asking him to apologize to victims' families and secondly, to institute a commission of inquiry to ascertain as to why the NPA dismally failed in investigating these cases. And today there's been absolutely no response.
I mean, during the reopened inquest, you did mention that you only wanted to know the truth, and you said that you wanted to give Rodrigues a chance to really tell the country the truth. Did you not feel he did enough back then?
Look, you see, our doors have always been open. You know, as victims who've lost loved ones, we continue reaching out, and we continue to do so even today, to reach out to apartheid era perpetrators, for them to come clean, to make full disclosures, because this is what victims' families require. They need answers, they need to know what happened to their loved ones and what were the true circumstances. And if Rodrigues and his legal team are not prepared to do so, then they must face the full wrath of the law.
Thanks so much. Of course, I mean, you'd recall, Leon, during that inquest, you kept hearing Rodrigues saying that he actually took his own life. Timol went through the 1026 window of the then John Foster Square to commit suicide, but overwhelming evidence coming through saying that Timol could have not managed to walk to that window unassisted, considering the kind of injuries that he had sustained. But Rodrigues saying that he did not spot any injury on Timol back then. But this is the reason why we are here today. They want him to clear his name in trial. But it remains to be seen what's going to be coming out of this judgment today. And of course, the families, not only of Timol, are hopeful that it will be in their favor.
All right, we leave it there for this morning. Mark Ketler Mohlabe at the South Gauteng High Court following that case for us, and we'll be covering that no doubt live here on SABC News and finding out what that judgment is.